Good morning and afternoon, everyone. Today you get kind of dressed down, still having a fever, feeling like garbage bread. Here's what we have going on around our world. Other countries are preparing right now to fight China with the United States of America. One nation in particular, the Netherlands, will be sending warships into the South China Sea, directly working with the Philippines. The Dutch Minister of Foreign Affairs has said that worsening tensions between what is happening in Manila and what's happening in Beijing are causing the Netherlands to plan to send a Dutch frigate over there. The Dutch foreign minister's visit to the Philippines is the first in 30 years. The expression of support from the international community, they warn, in this case the Dutch, has strengthened the Philippines' position in the West Philippine Sea, and they say that they're getting ready right now for China to act or react accordingly. Any additional support in the form of patrols or ships that are being given will augment and admittedly show capacity to China that this is a multinational support against Beijing. The last thing they say they want is a violent confrontation, but China will not hesitate to respond once challenged. Now, you know the U.S. Treasury Secretary has stated that a full separation of U.S. and Chinese economies is going to be what leads us into a disastrous global effect. What they're saying is that they have relied so much on globalization. They have pushed us into globalization. And now that it's falling apart, you're the one left to pick up the pieces. Business bankruptcies in the USA have risen 30% in a 12-month period. U.S. courts and those that are working with them say that this is literally just the beginning. Home ownership is now unaffordable in 80% of the counties across the USA. 500,000 Americans are now working 2 full-time jobs. We just saw a video that is reported to be weapons making their way across the USA in delivery trucks. Now, these weapons are labeled U.S. peacekeeping trucks. Now, I can't, of course, speak on the validity of these images or the videos because we live in a day and age of artificial intelligence and the ability to use great tools like Midjourney to make things look real. But what we do know is that our country is getting ready for something. The Department of Defense of the USA has confirmed it now has direct energy weapons, and these capabilities will be used to protect the U.S. forces in the Middle East. They say we have a wide variety of missile defense systems, which now includes directed energy capabilities, including their laser systems. Now, I want you to recall that Israel shot down missiles and rockets from space. They're now employing directed energy weapons there. This is a new, changing world. What we have happening right now is very similar to the disastrous chemical weapons usage that we saw in previous wars. These directed energy weapons will begin to affect everybody. Now, you want to think about the ability to just reach out and touch somebody. They can just assassinate somebody without ever leaving a trace. This is a dangerous time. The Philippines has said that its ships now have the right to be in the Scarborough Shoal. The Philippines has warned that their vessels have every right to operate in this shoal in the South China Sea. This is after China claimed that the ships under international law must stay away from the region. National Security Advisor Eduardo Ano said in a statement that the South China Sea and the Philippines are synonymous. China must stop creating unnecessary tension and they must respect international law. Ano responded to a Chinese statement that the Philippines illegally entered the waterways, and I think that you're starting to see now that China is using the Middle Eastern war and China is using the Russian war for its own gains. It's going to act very soon on Taiwan. I just want you to be ready. Talks are underway to establish a multinational force in the Middle East. They say this is after Israel uproots all of their enemies. Senators for the USA have said that a new multinational force will be what's necessary to keep the peace. Jordan has recalled all of their ambassadors from the nearby region, and they say that there is an escalation of war taking place right now. Chile recalled its ambassador from Israel, saying unacceptable violations of international law are taking place. U.S. paramilitary forces are now fighting in Israel. Photos were shared by private American contractors in a forward observational group. We've seen them, and I'm sure that you have too. We have U.S. paramilitary forces in Israel that have moved on from Ukraine, fighting against the Middle East. The U.S. Marine Corps Forces Central Command has announced that their Marine Corps' changes are taking place that won't allow things like leave. Now, you saw recently that they canceled their ball due to unforeseen operational commitments, and we are starting to see some whispers now that they're calling up additional forces and making changes that show you we are about to go to war. Erdogan of Turkey has said that Israel, with the support of the USA, is committing crimes against humanity. Iran has threatened any of Israel's allies, saying that the defense minister issued a stern warning. The U.S. should watch out. It will face repercussions. Now, I watched a documentary recently that showed Chinese immigrants moving into the USA, 50-some thousand, from the southern border. Russian immigrants moving into the USA from the southern border. Now, I'm not against anything in particular. I'm not calling for anything. All I'm saying is if you know you have enemies and you leave your doors and windows open at night, can you really be surprised when they crawl in and attack you in the shadows? We have to get ready for this, and the National Intelligence Service of multiple countries are briefing their lawmakers. They say that there is evidence now that we will begin to see the same style of attacks that we just saw in Israel in countries around our world. Japan is working to create a new security pact that counters China's maritime ambitions. The Prime Minister is laying the groundwork for this security pact. They say that its network of quasi-allies for joint training in the Indo-Pacific is just the beginning. China has bolstered its military. It has sparked a new concern against the U.S. Our military has said that, in fact, China might win this war. They say they demonstrate a desire to work together. This is Japan. And that we must come together against China if we expect to win this. The defense forces of the Philippines military will bring troops and equipment into each other's countries. These agreements in place will make it easier to conduct these drills and be ready to react at a moment's notice to China. There are unilateral attempts to change the status quo. Leaders are discussing cooperation agreements between Chinese enemies, and what we're starting to see is just the beginning. Now, like I said, guys, you're seeing me a little bit disheveled here. You're seeing me a little sick, a little bit under the weather, actually a lot under the weather. And I'm surprised that I'm able to, kind of put on the face for it, because this has been one of the worst times of illness that my family has ever had. Now all the kids have got it. It's just an absolute mess. Multiple days of low-grade fever, which you just start to feel really junky after you do that for multiple days. My bones ache, my skin aches. You know, your skin's your largest organ, right? Every inch of it aches. It feels like sandpaper is being blasted upon it. Eyes are tired, don't want to get up, fatigue, really feel junky. But you have to keep on keeping on, don't you? You have to keep watching what is happening. And so we're drinking lots of water. I don't have any, I don't think, on this table, but, I do have some right here. Taking lots of Pedialyte. We also make our own Pedialyte version, but sometimes it's just easier to throw this right inside there and guzzle it down. Vitamin C, garlic, ginger, lemon, honey, doing all those things that we need to try to give our body the best chance to fight this. Kelly's about to go get swabbed, and they're probably going to use a swab about this big to, check and see what it might be or what it might show up as. The docs think that it's RSV. RSV is a virus that pre the pandemic you used to only get once or twice in your life. A large percentage of kids got it by the time they were 2, and you didn't get it again until you were old. It did take out a lot of old people because it is nasty. You're talking about a 2-week virus. Now, we have something going around the USA right now, and there's a lot of speculation. I'm not going to get too far into it, but what I am going to remind you is that we just discovered Chinese biological laboratories inside the USA, operating illegally, without any oversight, with the U.S. government not even knowing, not knowing, that they existed. So what really are we facing in this world? We know that there has been a certain group of elites that have come out and said that they need to reduce population. What extent will they go to make that happen? How far will they go? Do they want to make sure that our lifespan goes back down to 40, 50 years? Because then you're out of your working age, right? And so if you're 40, 50 years old and you're starting to croak, well, that's a lot of people that are going to drop off this planet. I think that needs to be watched out for. And we need to start to pay attention to what really is going on. We already know that we are on our way to hell in a handbasket. And so we need to grab everything that we can to get our own independence, our own sustainability, and be as ready to face the coming challenges as we can be. Now, you guys are smart. You're preppers. You're homesteaders. You're aware individuals. You're watching what is happening, whether you're sick or not. And you are getting ready.